Hello there. Welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are here after the series finale of Andor. The last three episodes dropped on Tuesday. We are back to break down everything we saw here and continue our Andor coverage because this is not the end of Andor. We have a couple more Andor episodes planned here. One of your hosts, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, man's voice here in the air narration every single week. Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Great to be back to talk about Andor. It's been a little bit. So no, very excited to talk about this season finale.
Yeah, I'm glad our extraction team got to the safe house to get you over to the podcast this week.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks. So they got me. I'm here for the full episode. And I'm excited about this arc.
Yeah, what did you think about the last arc, by the way? We didn't have a chance to talk
Oh,
about last week.
it was so good. I mean, I missed the great arc of the first season that you guys were joking about. So it was phenomenal. That transferred over to this week. I think episodes eight and nine, yeah, were just probably the best episodes of the show prior to this arc, and I have to say that it just solidifies Andor in its place of Disney Plus, right? I mean, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, and for the new listeners to the podcast here, infamously back in season one, the one podcast Pete missed was One Way Out. So he has impeccable timing having to miss the episode, the
We're
best
gonna we're
episode.
gonna have to in a year. We're gonna have to revisit episodes seven, eight, and nine so I could do the rewatch and have a full episode like we did this year for A Way Out.
Oh, definitely, we can definitely do that here. And also here with us here today, one of the members of the Rebel High Command, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing fantastic. We saw the end of Andor. It was everything we could have hoped for. Very happy.
Everything could have hoped for here. And Pete, people want to subscribe us in the sky, guys. They can do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys here podcast platform, full episodes there. And like as I said a few minutes ago here, just because Andor is over, we still have more Andor content planned. So make sure you subscribe. You want to get all the Andor stuff. Plus, there's a fun little diversion next month that you want to check out as well. So make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Make sure you're on the new YouTube channel. That's where all the video versions of this podcast will be. Sky Guys Podcast over on YouTube. We transferred over from the Mike Phillips channel. This is the first exclusive show we are reviewing on the new YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed over there as well.
Nick, people want to follow us on social media, I can do that.
We're at Sky Guys Podcast. And if you want to email the pod, it's at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Also, go to our social media comment of the week here. You guys have been blowing up the TikTok talking about the Andor. You guys love the episodes last week here. This comment here is from Nick Fraietta on TikTok, talking about the arc of the episodes got last week. He said episode 8 was haunting. So good, the raw emotion, the horror of the acting, even the pacing is so good in all caps. It's so good in an hour episode. So I think he summed up like in about like two sentences what Nick and I spent about an hour and 15 talking about last week.
And I obviously completely agree with the comment. Thank you for it. But I just feel as if the world is obsessed with episode 8, and I don't disagree at all. But to me, 9 was right there with it, and it doesn't feel like it's getting the same love.
You know, I think like 8 got
I
all.
understand why.
Yeah, I mean, 8 had the Gorman massacre. It had like,
Yeah, it had more action in it. I get it, but to me, 9 was. I was at the edge of my seat a little bit more in 9, to be honest with you.
yeah, and Pete, it's wild with that stuff too, considering like we know that like Mon Mothma gets out of the Senate in 9 and that she's not like gonna be caught by the Empire here, but they still did a great job building attention for that getaway sequence and the speech.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, the speech itself just ending on the monster is Emperor Palpatine, which is the first person ever in the Senate to outwardly go against the Emperor is just a wild concept. That part was probably the most powerful part of Mon Mothma's arcs ever in the show, and I'm with Nick. 9 is right there with 8 for sure.
Yep. So let's go ahead here. We have a little bit of Star Wars news, Nick. So you want to go ahead and get us through it here real quick.
Yes, Katie Sackhoff confirmed she will be back as Bo-Katan in an upcoming project, saying you will see her again. Is she confirmed for the movie, or is this her way of saying she's in the movie? I kind of figured she'd be in the movie. Do we know?
We don't know what it is. I'm assuming she's in the movie.
Okay, that's not really. I mean, it's still news. We're going to mention it, but if she's in the movie and that's what she meant, like, oh yeah, of course you're in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, Number two is Tony Gilroy said in an interview that they had to scrap a different introduction like, for K2SO. It would have been a standalone horror movie type like episode with him hunting down people. It seems like they did that, but instead of having a whole episode, they turned it into 30 seconds of him being haunting.
Yeah. And Pete,
So
I do get this for they said budget, which makes sense, and how much money they spent on this show. Like I'm sure saying, yeah, like the other like 25 million for a one episode intro of K2SO the horror movie. Like it would have been fun, but I get practically why they didn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what we got of K2SO prior to Rogue One in this season was plenty. I don't think um the timing was short for him, and I don't think that we were missing out on anything. I think we got to the point. We understand who K2SO is. We understand how powerful he is, and it leads right into Rogue One beautifully.
Nick, have you seen any of the discourse Tony Gilroy's had about why he's had to wait so long to bring K2SO into the show?
no, I haven't.
Yeah, he said that having a character like K2SO is so challenging because like he's the ultimate cheat code for the rebellion and like in terms of
True.
physicality and strength. So like he's like, I need to wait as long as possible before I put him in the show because otherwise it's like, why didn't they just use K2SO? So I think that makes sense in terms of like, like we have to be sparing when we use him. He said if you look at Rogue One, and we'll do that again in a few weeks, like there are points they got to hide him off screen, so it's not just an automatic cheat code for the rebels.
Good point. Next is Andor was number two in the Nielsen streaming ratings chart for the first week of May, trailing only four seasons on Netflix, which is good to hear. I mean, we got a Star Wars show here that fans seem to love, critics seem to love, and a lot of people are watching it. So, what else can you want?
Yeah, I think great news for us, Pete, because this is like Disney getting some return on investment for how much they spent on this show and the quality and the praise. And if they get nominations for awards here, like I said, hopefully this maybe gets them to consider like looking harder at the quality bar when they go through these shows going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that especially the way that they did it through Andor season one into two. Two has, in my opinion, a little bit faster pace to it. I mean, we're covering 4 years, right? But I think they beautifully set up a great season, and they didn't rush it, right? It's the only Star Wars season to feature 12 episodes a season. Each episode you're not getting like a 30-minute episode in any of them. There might have been one in season one, but in season two, they're jam-packed with stuff. 40, what was it, 45 minutes was the shortest episode,
I think they
something along
average
those lines.
about 45 minutes an episode at least.
Right. And we had longer episodes here and there, and of course you have the credits. But yeah, I mean it's time for, as much as we've criticized Disney Star Wars and we've critiqued Disney Star Wars, there's been good shows, there's been bad shows. This is their best, and I think they deserve their flowers on this one for sure.
Absolutely. And Nick, I believe there's one more thing I want to talk about with the Outlaws DLC.
Yeah, as of date of recording, which is May 15th, they came out today. It's the Pirates Fortune DLC involving our friend Hondo Onaka. I got a chance to play a little bit of it, not very much, but I did meet Hondo in there, and he's still the wisecracking Hondo that we all know and love. And so far, so good with the DLC.
Yeah, is this still like, can you tell that they did the Jim Cummings motion capture for him?
Not really, honestly. They kind of go out of their way to not really show much of cutscene with him. It's more of like there's one thing that actually got on my nerves. You're in the ship and they're talking, and you'd think it would be a cutscene, but it just shows you the outside of the ship,
Oh.
and you just hear the voices. It actually kind of got on my nerves, but so far so good. It's good DLC so far. I'm about to go on an adventure with Hondo.
All right. That's it for the news this week.
Yep.
All right, so let's go here. General thoughts on our finale. Obviously, they had a very high bar to clear after the Universal Praise Arc 3 got here. I think in terms of the finale arc, I expected it to be slower. I liked the bold choice to do episode 10 without any Cassian in the Andor show and do the Kleya Luthen like backstory, wrap that up a little bit. And I thought for what they had, I think they delivered on it very well, Pete.
Oh, for sure. I don't think you need. I think the beauty of the show is you don't need Cassian to execute the Andor show, and I think that's why they had so much success. It didn't base around just him; it was based around the rebellion, and he just happened to be the main character. And I, like you said, I think they did fantastic with what they had. All the actors and actresses have been great in this show. Kleya plays a great role. Um, and overall, just the thoughts of it were just, it was fantastic. It had everything you needed in it to, like you said, to wrap up that storyline.
Nick, what did you think about it? I know Tony Gilroy also did some interviews where he basically said like, yeah, like we knew we were gonna kind of like slow down a little bit because Rogue we had to get to Rogue One and doing action, then Rogue One may have been a bit much for the audience. So having a little softer landing, but still having a plenty of action, I think was good.
I thought it was fantastic. This is the first time that I can say in Star Wars that we've had flashbacks. And I don't mean like one flashback. I mean like an episode filled with flashbacks that I really didn't mind. I actually liked. Usually I hate the flashbacks and I'm like, this is taking away from the story, this and that. These work perfectly. The only question I have is what year was this supposed to be? From the looks of it, it looked like maybe I looked at it wrong. It looked like they were way younger. Like this was like 30 years ago. But obviously it wasn't because there were still stormtroopers and Imperials. This had to only be like at most 15 years ago. Maybe Clay is much younger than I thought she was.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere. I think it's early Imperial era that Luthen did
That's
this.
what I guess it must have been, but like it looked to me like Luthen was like 30 years younger.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little makeup slash CGI there.
But I loved it. It was fantastic, and I actually cared about the backstory because I knew they were gonna. I don't know. It's just like the trust I have with this show, the trust I have with Tony Gilroy, where I know like he's not just gonna show us a flashback for no reason, Boba Fett style. Like there's gonna be a reason for this, a good reason. It's gonna come back, and it's gonna have to do with what's going on in the present, and it perfectly did.
Yeah, and I also want to bring up this point too about the Kleya stuff. We might as well start there because the whole first episode is basically Kleya, Luthen, and Lonnie. Like Kleya taking a central role in this 10th episode is not something I have on my bingo card. And I know they did interviews with Elizabeth Duval, the actress, who Pete. By the way, did you know that like this is her first major role ever? That she basically right out of drama school into the show.
Yeah, so you had sent us something off air here, and I'd read the title of it, and I couldn't tell. I thought she's been acting for years,
Yeah.
like major roles. Um, so I mean, just phenomenal performance.
Yeah, I know Tony Gilroy in that article made a big point, basically saying like, I only did not do many backstories in this show. I only did two. Obviously, you got Cassian's in the beginning. I did Clay's. I want to be the one to tell it and not have anybody else come in and tell what the dynamic between her and Luthen was. He said he had promised Skarsgård like a sort of backstory origin at some point, and I think the way they deliver on this, Nick, the flashbacks, and I know you probably were pumped to see Naboo for a scene in there. So I think like they executed very well on the Kleya Luthen backstory.
Absolutely. That's not what I was just saying. And obviously, yes, you're right. I loved seeing Naboo there. It was just as beautiful as I remember.
Yeah.
Um, that's amazing though that was her first role. It really is amazing.
Yeah, and Pete, like I did love the dynamic how it showed like the care they gave to the storyline of like obviously like Luthen finds her as a child when his unit is basically laying waste to her planet, and he basically is bringing her along and saying, okay, like you want to do something about it, you have to really make hard choices. And they get to that little lunch they're having on Naboo when they blow the bridge up, and he says, okay, now we have to leave. You're in this now. So I thought like that was pretty cool, seeing like especially the actress they got for the younger version of Kleya nailed it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think also another cool piece is that they fit this flashback perfectly, right? Clay's infiltrated this hospital to go and ultimately kill Luthen, right? Make sure that Luthen isn't alive at the end of this. And the fact that she's reminiscing on all of this when she's going to go and kill someone who is her fatherly figure for most of her life is it's powerful. And I think that that's what separates these flashbacks from a lot of other flashbacks we've seen in Disney Star Wars. So I just want to make sure that's highlighted because I don't want that to go underestimated because that was just creatively that was beautiful by Gilroy.
Yeah, flashbacks with a purpose, as opposed to like flashbacks because we just had to give you exposition.
Right.
Yeah. And Nick, I do think like I want to give you credit because you basically hit the nail on the head your predictions last week in terms of
That's strange.
Yeah, is like Pete. I don't know if you remember the end of the podcast last week. Nick's prediction was like,
This is what I said. I said I'm sitting here, I guess, for predictions as he always does. I'm struggling. I just spitball and say, all right, let me just guess. I go, all right, Lonnie's gonna die or get killed or something, and that's gonna lead to Luthen dying, which is gonna mean that Kleya's gonna have to get escorted off world to take into Yavin 4.
Crazy.
That's exactly what happened, and I just
Actually crazy.
completely guessed.
"Are you sure you were not in the writers' room with Tony Gilroy for that?"
And then when I said it, I don't even remember saying it. It wasn't like my actual prediction. It was just like, because you asked, I had to say something.
Yeah, because you said I have no idea. I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Let's just say this happens. And I'm exactly what happened.
Yes, I think we should unpack these little bit by bit here. Start with the Lonnie and Luthen angle here, because Lonnie basically shows up. He presses the big Mayday button on Luthen's soundboard. Says like, "Get over here! I need to tell you something." We get the whole meeting. Like I've had Dedra's like secret security codes for a year. Like I've been burned. Like he basically gives them the whole spiel of the Death Star. Luthen coaxes out of him like, okay, like I need the information. I'll get you over to Yavin, and this is gonna be something that happens here. We'll get you and the wife and the kid out there. Then he gets the information, kills Lonnie, and gets away because he knows it's not much longer until they're on to him. So very interesting parallel, Nick, in terms of like this is very much a mirror of Cassian killing Tivik in the movie, in terms of like he gets the information he needs and kills the witness so he doesn't have any, and so kill.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. He basically, I think there's a sense of urgency that comes over Luthen that we've seen growing over the show. And this is when it's reached its all time where it's, this is what I needed you for. I got what I need. I don't need you anymore. Not only do I not need you anymore, I fear as if keeping you alive is going to damage me, like you said. But he's reached the point where, like, I don't need any more information. I got everything I need right now from you. I know that they're building this weapon. Like, we're good. We have this whole thing on Yavin. I know he hasn't been there. They made that clear. Has he gone maybe and left? I don't really know.
I think they
Seems like he never went.
Yeah, I think the whole point in the last week's arc at the end, where like Cat's like, "You coming to Yav's?" Like, "No, I need to stay here and do more stuff." So like,
Yeah, but like, we don't know what happened in that year. My point. I don't think he went though.
yeah, I think clearly not, because you can see the Rebel High Command at the end of the arc is very pissed at him and says like, "We don't like you
Right.
anymore."
True, true, true. But the point is, like, he realizes now that, like I said last week, and it's happened a little more each week with this show because it's years. Every week is a little more of it's go time until this week it's really go time.
Yeah, and Pete, like I did sort of like appreciate like the choice here. I think Lonnie signed his death warrant. He said, "I've been burned. They're gonna come for me any minute." Because like Luthen knows like if I can't get him off in time and they get to him, like he's gonna squeal and give me up in like 3 seconds. So I have to just like kill him and just like at least this way, like you look at it in Luthen's sense, like he probably saved the wife and the kid at minimum because Lonnie's dead and it looks like Lonnie's a martyr at this point.
For sure. And you know, I might have been hallucinating because it was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. when I was watching this episode. We don't actually see Luthen kill him, right? It's just implied that
Heavily
he's
implied.
left, yeah, he's left dead at the bench and some random passerby finds the dead body, right? So, um, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, right? Like Luthen has always had this kind of bad guy aura around him, even though he was for the rebellion. And it kind of fits into the character of like, Nick was saying, and you as well, Mike, where I don't need you anymore. We got the information. You're honestly worth more dead than alive at this point because you're probably going to hurt us if they capture you in the end. And like you had said, it kind of saves the family too because he dies as an Imperial officer versus any wrongdoings coming to the surface, right? He's already dead, so the Empire kind of washes their hands of it right away. So it just plays right into Luthen's character of like, again, bad guy aura, but he's doing good at the same time, and it's very hard to like get a grip on what he actually is.
Yeah, for sure. And I do like this point also where we see like Nick, this sends an absolute panic where he's like basically sprinting to Kleya, like, okay, information here. He's like basically getting out in like 3 word sentences like Jedha, Kyber crystals, like Scarif, like all the information, basically Galen Erso. He's basically quickly getting it out. And he says, you know what, I'm gonna go back and just like clean up the office and burn the radio equipment so they can't track us, and sends Kleya just to get the information out. So I did enjoy like the scene, especially when Dedra shows up at the antiquity shop and that they have that like little like they both know why the other's there and they do this dance around to like what's going on with the situation here. I did love the line where like Dedra asked him like, "Is this stuff all real?" He's like, "Well, there are two things of questionable provenance in this shop," clearly referring to himself and Dedra.
Yeah, it's fantastic writing is what it is.
Yeah,
It's other shows are just gonna have her go in there and storm the building.
yeah,
But this show takes its time, takes its patient, and it knows it's excellent writing.
yeah. I love how they just like let you sit in that scene for a minute and then like let you cut away when Dedra notices the smoking radio room and like away to the point where Luthen just says, you know, like I'm just gonna off myself and try and just do the seppuku, like Shogun style, to like off myself and prevent them from interrogating me. So like,
And this has become an issue now. This has become a huge problem.
okay,
The show's too good.
yes,
I don't want to. I don't like. You sent that meme of Karn laying on the bed with the other shows. Like, you know what I'm talking about. The audience, I know they can't see it, so audio. But there's essentially like we're done with this now. And I don't get me wrong. I like Ahsoka. It was a fun show. I enjoyed it. But like, we gotta go back to Ahsoka now after this.
yeah. I think the thing will help us,
I
Nick.
like Ahsoka a lot. It's one of my favorite Disney Plus shows. But the writing doesn't even compare. The writing looks like a fourth grader wrote it in comparison.
Yeah, I think I've said off the air, Pete. I feel like that like Genevieve O'Reilly is the only actress to do both of those shows. Like probably has like emotional whiplash reading an Andor script compared to an Ahsoka script. I do think though the year break we're gonna have between like the live action shows is gonna help us get like accept that Andor is what it is and like be fine with Ahsoka coming back. But I do think this is a topic for a future episode also. We are fair as fans to demand like a little higher standard, like writing production wise, than what we get in compared to some of the other shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing happened after Rogue One, right? So Rogue One comes out. I mean, that was before, correct me if I'm wrong, before the sequel trilogy, right? This was something before
It
Disney
was
acquired.
only it was
No.
Rogue One was only after Force Awakens.
Got
Before
it. So it came out after. So Force Awakens was, I mean, let's talk about it. Pretty well taken, right? Like I don't think anyone was upset about that movie, but no one was like, "Whoa, this is the best Star Wars movie you've ever seen." But it was pretty good.
I think
So
people are upset with it, but they no one was upset with it at the time.
Yeah, it's
right.
British history.
Yeah.
Right. It was accepted, right? It was well accepted. People enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's a New Hope reskin. We all loved it, right? You get Rogue One to come out, you're like, whoa, this is like good. And then you have like episode 8 come out, and you're like, well, hold on. Hang on a second. So I think the same thing happened with Rogue One, and I think that like Mike said, the year is gonna help that sting go away, where it's like we just want another live action show by this point. It's been, a long time. And then also probably the fan service will probably be kind of heavy in the Ahsoka season 2 as well. But I mean, I share the same sentiment. It's just that the writing is just so top notch. I mean, I think personally, whatever happens with Disney Star Wars moving forward, they need the writers of this show to really go in and say, how do we make this more down to earth? Because live action is way different than like a Clone Wars or animation. This is supposed to feel like real life, quote unquote, and you need that down to earth writing that Andor had. I think Andor also kind of benefits from it being its own thing and being the real world Star Wars character versus these Jedi and everything. But you have a resource now. You have a great writing team in Andor. Utilize them. See what they could do with these other shows you're planning.
Yeah, hire some of them to write for you.
Right. You have them right there. They've proven it to you. And if they win an award, you got it. You got to figure out a way to retain them on all the future projects. You have to.
Also, I will point out here that Bo Willimon, who's written a couple arcs on this show, including the Prison Break arc from season one, he is writing the James Mangold movie. So that like gave me a stock up boost on that movie. I think also the reception. I think this show being so well received, I think helps the chances that James Mangold movie actually getting made. I know Nick disagrees.
No, I do agree. I was on mute. I said I didn't know that. That's good news.
Yeah. Yeah, he's co-writing with Mangold. So I think like if that's like the kind of standard we're going for the writing wise, like give me that movie. Like I want that movie.
But if it has similar writing to this, count me in.
Yeah, for sure. And back to the Luthen front here, like I did like the setup here where like we do get like Kleya's perspective. We get the flashbacks are cutting between the apartment and like the safe house. She's trying to find the emergency radio, and then she figures out like where Luthen is, and I love the scene, Pete, where she's trying to infiltrate the hospital and like she poses a nurse, she grabs the random like patient, brings them up to the 19th floor, and she does such a good job creating diversions and just mowing down like troopers and agents that like we see like like they think it's a three-person tactical team that killed Luthen, and it's just her, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think it shows that Kleya was. I mean, Luthen was the brains, but she was also the brains of the operation. I think she did a lot of the stuff, and Luthen got the credit. Um, to criticize a little bit, not say everything's perfect, perfect, perfect. It's like, how'd you know that hospital scrubs were there? Like, she just knew where everything was off the bat, no recon. Granted,
To be,
we can't show everything in a show, but like, it just seemed very.
to be fair, she goes to a locker room area and then she opens
uh,
one as
sh-
wrong and goes.
Sure, yeah, no, 100%. I'm just trying to nitpick the like one thing that may have been a little weird. It's like that was too easy, right? It doesn't detract anything from her character or the episode at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
Nick,
just hope that I just hope the patient that she took to the wrong place ended up okay.
I'm sure they seemed all right. The hospital director was
I
up on
hope
the
so.
floor pretty quick.
I hope so.
And I did love that scene showing how good she is. And the moment where she says goodbye to Luthen, Pete, where like she goes in, he's on the life support because it's clear like they couldn't stabilize him fast enough. He's basically on his machine to live. The scene where she cuts, like she like, kills the life support basically, says goodbye to him, watches him like make his last breath before she like makes her getaway. Like fantastic acting work from Elizabeth Doolittle there.
I mean the whole show. I mean it's like we had mentioned the fact that she went from um specifically drama school, drama.
Yeah, she went from drama school right to this.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's called acting drama, but like the fact that she did this just shows how talented she is and how the writing complemented her style as well, right? If you get a great actor with bad writing, it's just no matter how great the actor is, it's just not going to work. Um, even the other way, if you have a bad actor or actress with good writing, it still looks awkward. I mean, this was just a compliment between the writing staff, the character, and the way she played the character and how dynamic she could be in the role. And we saw it throughout the entire show. It wasn't just like a one-trick pony with this character. This character was manipulating people. This character was smart. This character was doing comms, figuring out how to make the next move, continuing the rebellion, making sure that the Empire doesn't get the information from Luthen if he does wake up, being strong enough to get to Yavin. I mean, the character itself is Kleya's character is just so diverse, and the acting ability on top of it just makes the character just skyrocket for me.
Yeah, I know. Like she's been around since season one. We didn't pay as too much attention to her in season one, but like the character pinged on my radar during that second arc when she's trying to remove the listening device from Schoolin's office, and she said, and I saw an interview with the actor. She's like, I try to keep track of four different things in that scene where it's like I'm supposed to be trying to remove the device, flirt with Lonnie, tell Lonnie the story, and like keep an eye on who else is in the room. Wow. So I memorized my lines first, and I was worried about leaning into each of these things. I'm doing the different takes of the scenes. I'm like, that's really impressive, like acting skill.
It's incredible. I mean, I could never do it. I mean, the some actors that have been acting forever probably can't do that. I mean, that scene alone is so complex. It I mean, hell, I only remember. I mean, it was so good. I don't remember the camera cutting to a different angle. It was almost like the camera was just always on her and Lonnie.
Yeah.
I know it did, obviously, because you go back to Mon Mothma and Krennic kind of going at each other. But I mean, the dynamic of that scene alone just shows you the quality of not only the acting by everyone, not just Kleya, um, by Kleya's actress, but just a phenomenal multitasking scene in general that she thrives in.
Yeah, and I feel like definitely the breakout star of this show was her, especially over the back half of season two.
She's gonna get a lot of work after this, and if she doesn't, that's just it's a crime. I mean, how do you watch this and not try to book her on other projects? I mean, she's gonna get a lot of work after this for sure.
Yeah, this is her biggest credit. Looking at her IMDb page, she's got 60 episodes of Andor. She did a voice of a deer in Wicked. She did an episode of The Outlaws and a couple episodes of Maternal. But like she's gonna start getting a lot more roles. She has no acting credits prior to 2020.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, and she deserves it. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I just the real world stuff, right? Like I don't know how she'd be as like a Jedi, right? But I mean, just as the layman person trying to start the rebellion, it felt real. It felt like the emotion was there. And then we get her backstory on top of it, and it just brings everything together. So, like I said, she's going to get a lot more work. A lot more people, I'm sure, are going to be knocking on her door after this performance and saying, "Hey, we want you in this." And honestly, good for her. She deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, Nick, we're talking about like a little bit about the Elizabeth Dula acting clinic as Kleya here, and would this be a character you want to see like again, like after this in some form? Because I feel like that this character, like, do we know by the end of this episode that she survives and she's on Yavin during the events of the original trilogy, at least during the New Hope? Like, would you want to see like her brought back in something else?
No, because her, Anvil, and Bix,
Wilmot,
and even Wilmon, it's better left untold.
yeah.
I I just want to know. You can give me a little snippet like the way they did at the end of Rebels when they were like, and Rex fought in the Battle of Endor. Great, that's all I need to know.
I do think though, like, I think they're going to try and shoehorn at least one of these people into something else.
They could, and I wouldn't be upset about it. I just feel like some of these stories are better left untold. For example, we meet a new character at the end of the show.
Yes,
I would like it if we never learned anything about that character ever, and it's just out there knowing that there's a little piece of him left. That's all.
we'll get to that one here. And do you want to continue on the Kleya train and talk about the extraction that she has that they have to pull off to get her off of court?
Yes, let's do it. I think
We can
we're moving a little slow.
we can circle back to Dedra a little bit, but because Dedra Krennic is fun, but like,
Yeah.
the extraction I think is fun because we see that she sets up this like little ham radio thing, and she's like sending out the emergency code. You turn on Wilmot has the other end of the radio. First of all, Pete, I also say I love the card game between Cassie and Melshi and Keitra. So that was a fun, like little quick like character scene to show, like as Nick said, we're gonna see that Keitra is one of the guys and how he's one of the guys.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, it's a great dynamic, and it shows you that they're getting close, and they got close over that year that we haven't seen.
Yeah. I also did like Nick that was clearly established that, like Cassie and K2SO kind of do their own thing. And I know K2SO is like, oh, like you just made an order 17 times already. And like he decides like I'm going to go rescue what he thinks is Luthen. He doesn't realize it's Kleya. Like despite that Draven and the Kai Command want no part of him going out there on this mission. He has to fake a test flight just to like doesn't get shot at leaving the base.
Yeah, that's true. I've also noticed from watching this arc, and then I watched Rogue One afterwards. I kind of just assumed that Cassian and Kay were really good friends. They don't seem like they are. Outside of this one scene where they're playing like poker together, whatever you want to call it, sabacc. Well, it's not sabacc, but it's some card game. They're not really that like friendly with one another. Or I guess Kay is friendly towards Cassian. Cassian's really not friendly towards Kay, like at all.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder why. Is he just all business? Like he's really not friendly. He's not friendly in Rogue One whatsoever. And he's not friendly in this last arc except for that one scene. And is he really friendly or is he just drunk and messing with him?
I think it might be a mix of both.
So it's just surprising to me. He's not nearly as friendly as I remember. Like after again the Rogue One rewatch and again and this arc.
Yeah. We're just happy that Melshi got a big role in this one, considering how tight we know that they are in Row One.
Yeah, he actually, and again, he wasn't in Rogue One as much as they make it seem. Like he rescued Jin, which is something I wish they would have mentioned a little bit. I wish they would have mentioned it a very little bit. Like you're going to get Jin or so, but they didn't, and it just kind of happened in like the second scene of Rogue One, right after he met with what was the guy's name?
Havoc.
Yeah, Tivik. But they didn't really mention that, and then he was just at the end on the battle. But he was like the leader of the guys on the battle.
I would assume that maybe there's like a time jump between when Cassian goes to meet Tivik and when they figure out the Jalen Urso, like the Jyn Urso angle. That may be why we didn't see it in the show.
Yeah, but by time jump, it was a few days. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so too. So anyway, we get this extraction here. We get them going back to Coruscant here. I did like how this is our one action set piece basically in the entire episode, apart from Kleya blowing up like transports and killing ISB soldiers here. I did like the whole thing here because this was the K2SO showcase, Pete. Because we obviously Cassian and Melchi get up there, they find Kleya, they're arguing, trying to get her out. She agrees to leave, and then the IC have them cornered. K2SO figures out the comms are jammed. He immediately starts like murdering like ISB agents across the board. So very fun K2SO moment. It's like he gets his Vader hallway scene here. We finally get to see K2SO really be a badass.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Not overdone. It's needed. Helps them out immensely, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah. And Nick, I did love his like how nonchalant he is in the dialogue when like one of the ISB officers asks him like, "Oh, are you one of ours?" He just like throws him off the bridge like, "No," and just keeps walking. Like I was just laughing so hard at his situation.
Yeah, he was great. That was really funny. The only, I don't want to say an issue, but I was thinking when we were watching it, I mean, over the years in Star Wars, we've gotten iconic hallway scenes, right?
Yeah, we got Vader's.
To name a few, Vader, Luke, Maul from Clone Wars, Luke and Mandalorian. I thought we were getting the K2SO hallway scene right there. And we kind of did. I mean, we killed some people in a hallway, but I thought we were getting his hallway scene where he was just gonna like chop them all down one at a time while they were like begging for mercy. And I mean, it is kind of what happened, but it's not exactly the way I was picturing it. And I don't know, did you guys feel the same way? Like, I'm not mad that we didn't get it. I'm just saying that's what thought was gonna happen. Did you guys think we were getting something like that too, or no?
I think it was more a practical thing where in terms of like the budget, probably where like it was just like probably would have been very expensive to do the whole thing of him basically like mowing down all his troops. And what they did show you, Pete, especially when he picks up like Agent Hurt, is using it as basically a human meat shield as the troopers are firing at him. Like that was fun.
Yeah, that part I think was his moment. I think that all the other stuff was gravy. I mean, we know K2SO is a high powered machine. Even before he gets to the hallway, right? He takes out people left and right from the outside as well. So I think that the meat shield thing was probably the thing for me that went, wow, that's kind of crazy. And then, you move on, right? There's bigger fish to fry. You get K2SO and Rogue One, and I feel like this wasn't the focus, right? We just needed to get K2SO here so that we can start Rogue One.
Yeah. And Nick, I did laugh very hard when like when they're flying in. He's like, I've been to Coruscant since it was an Empire Day, since I was at Imperial Parade a couple of years ago, and Palpatine saw me. He's like, and Cass says, I'm sorry, I missed that. And that got me like cracking up also.
It makes me wonder. I always mention it. Palpatine in public.
Yeah.
I wonder so much.
Yeah.
He's not in this show for a specific reason. It's not, yes, it's because of budgeting and because of the idea of keeping it more grounded, but like the whole idea of like in it lore reason why he's not here is that there is no public persona for Emperor Palpatine at this point. No one knows what he looks like because he keeps himself hidden because of the scars from Mace Windu. That's not really why he keeps himself hidden because he's a Sith and doesn't want to deal with people, and he doesn't want to get called out on anything. So he just keeps himself hidden. And the idea people think he looks like what he looked like in Rebels. Remember when he was in Rebels to appearing to Ezra?
Yeah, he fakes his appearance. Looks like it's his old
Yeah,
self.
that's what people think he looks like, but in reality, he just doesn't. That he's evil, and that just like, yeah. So like the mention of Emperor Palpatine being there to me is just like I wish I could see it so badly.
Yeah, and P also loved the detail that this show pays attention to these fight scenes. Like when we get to the scene where the ISBAs are storming up on the safe house and the lead guy throws in the EMP grenade. Like Kleya is not going to immediately, but both Cassian and Melshi are not really affected by it because they're used to all the electric shocks and they're not in Narkina.
Well, Cassian was. I mean, they cut to Cassian's point of view and everything's like white. I think Melshi was the only one that kind of like was still okay.
Well,
Um,
they're a lot longer Melshi was than
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think look, I mean, these are the small details that matter, right? When it comes to trying to make it feel real. That's how a lot of these shows try to operate, at least the well-written ones, where you feel like you're in this, even though you know it's not possible. And I think once you get the audience to feel like they're in it with the characters and things are actually making sense, again, how much can make sense in a Star Wars show, but things are making sense. That's how you kind of grab the audience and say, "Wow, this is a great show." And I mean, it's apparent throughout the entire show, but like you said, small details like this makes the show quality just skyrocket.
Yeah, let's go to Dedra. And well, Nicholas, you have anything else you want to add on the extraction?
No, nothing else.
All right, so I think the Dedra stuff is also interesting because we see obviously she goes on the raid. She botches the point. She lets Luthen basically almost kill himself. They bring her to the hospital, like, and she's like getting ready to do interrogation. Hurt shows up here because like who her underling in season one, now he's an ISB actual board member. Like they arrest her for like basically overstepping her authority here at the point, and this gets Krennic directly involved in the storyline game because Krennic shows up to do an interrogation because he's like, how the hell does like Lonnie Young have your codes, and like why are you reading classified files here? So like all of her like snooping around and trying to follow the plan and get as much information as she can, that really burned her, Pete.
Yeah, for sure. And I think she was also a little bit not jealous, but she was working on that Axis thing for a while. And when she got assigned to Gorman in other episodes, you can kind of see that with is it Hurt here? I don't know
Yep.
which it is, but like you kind of see she like confronts him as like you know you have to do this. I have done this. I can take care of it. So I think that part of her never really left, and I think she just over obsessed. And I think also too when Karn died, she had like nothing left to focus on. Gorman was done, Karn was gone, and she probably just refocused on finding Axis, and then she just went too hard too quickly.
Yeah, and Nick, the scene with Krennic and her in the interrogation was fantastic. I mean, when he got Ben Mel's basically putting his finger on top of her head, like he's basically saying, your actions can be confused of a rebel spy. Like, if you aren't one, you should become one. Like, I did love that confrontation where like she sort of realizes quickly the walls are closing in here and she's being scapegoated for like the failures of the ISB.
Yeah, I mean, he's right to criticize her in the moment. Like she lost her codes to Lonnie. The secret's out. It is her fault, technically speaking, but at the same time, she's not a rebel spy. So like, but I can see where he's coming from. Like we have like think about how this needs to be kept a secret. So like a lot of people know about the Death Star, obviously, right? Like when people are on the Death Star,
Yeah.
and the galaxy's not allowed to know about this thing,
Yes.
especially until at least halfway through A New Hope when the Senate is still a thing.
Yeah.
Because they even say it in A New Hope, if word gets out in the Senate, they're going to lose so much support.
Yeah.
So this needs to be kept up completely under, in cahoots, and it is until this point when word starts to spread.
Yeah. And Pete, the other big thing too is that Krennic makes this big argument here. He's like, like, why are you getting like briefings on Death Star? You're opening them on your private server where like you're reading information you should not be reading. So like she's violating the need to know rules that the ISB has on this project.
Yeah, I mean, she was desperate. Like I said, I think she was just trying to get some sort of validity in her hard work. I mean, I don't think she wanted the thing in Gorman to happen. Obviously, she loses Karn, like I had mentioned, and I just think that she's just like super fixated, and she does stuff she's not supposed to, and that makes her look terrible, especially in this light and of resistance and rebellions happening.
Yeah, for sure. And she does like she does get a visit from Hurt where she tries to help him along the Axis thing and says, "Oh, like check out the old radio frequencies." Like they know you're going to look for other channels, so she is trying to be helpful. But all it does is earn her a ticket to the wherever the women's Narkina prison is. That's where she ends her storyline. Basically, on Narkina for probably the rest of her life.
Yeah, you would imagine when the war is over, which at this point is about 4 years from now, 5 years from now,
Yep.
the prisons would be closed, but she may have died before that.
Yeah, we don't know and it's funny too, ironic, like where like she got punished for like not doing enough like protecting Death Star. Now she's still building Death Star parts.
Which also makes you wonder, like, what happened to those prisons after the Death Star? You think they just build Death Star 2?
That's what I assume.
I guess, right?
I went to overtime on Death Star too.
Yeah, and then once Death Star 2 is destroyed, there's a little bit of time there, but the Empire is really a mess then. But like, I guess they would have let her out, and then would she hate the Empire, or would like you had mentioned maybe she'd like become an Imperial working for Thrawn or something, in the Imperial remnants, like, do you think she would do that, or do you think she would say, "No, I hate the Empire," and join the New Republic?
No, I think she might go end up with Thrawn if she has finds a way to him.
Interesting.
I'll also add here, this is also a big sort of collapse of the ISB in this like last arc here because they lose a lot of people here. Like Lonnie dies, Hurt dies, Dedra's thrown in prison here, and we basically see at the end of towards the end of episode 12 that like Partagrass is like sort of seeing the walls caving on him. He's listening to Nemec's manifesto, which is a fascinating choice because he realizes like I can't contain this whatsoever. Like it's impossible to snuff out the rebellion. So like he literally sort of accepting his fate when the other guy, Legret, comes in and says, you've been ordered to step down here. Like, I'm going to escort. He's like, I want a minute to collect my thoughts. And he just offs himself. So the ISB is a big blow you're dealt here, Pete. And I did love the acting of the scene where, like, we hear the gunshot outside the room and Legret sort of standing at the stormtroopers or Star was like, give him a minute. Like, that's it.
Yeah, he knew what was going to happen. I mean, everyone knows. I mean, I think the Empire was established enough that if you're not doing the right thing, you're either going to prison or getting killed, right? It's like an immediate thing. So, um, the fact that I forgot the other character's name that walked in saying, "I'm going to take you down." They've asked me to come.
Legret.
Legret, yeah. So the fact that he heard him say, "I need a few minutes," he's like, "All right." So gives him his time, his space. He hears the gunshot go off again. To me, the iconic, like Nick was doing, the hand raise, like just wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like we all know what just happened. Just let him be. Um, it's a powerful scene, and it's what, a minute,
Yeah.
not even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it speaks volumes to the Empire's workings and how kind of screwed they are.
Yeah, and I did love the Anton Lesser performance throughout the series as part of Grass. And like we see the desperation building throughout the arc, especially like when like Krennic is there with Hurt and him trying to figure out where Kleya is, and he's like, right, Hurt's like, what should I tell? He's like, she's like, and he's like frantic. He's like, oh, like she's a patient who escaped from the hospital as a very rare disease that will impact the population here, and we see like all their failures when like this cover story basically also lead to them letting Kleya get away.
Yeah, it's really interesting dynamic. Also, you gotta like think in time that where we are in the timeline now, we're pretty much at A New Hope. Like this leads into Rogue One. Rogue One leads right into A New Hope. Even though the Senate's still a thing, at this point in time, the Senate's basically not a thing. I'm pretty sure after the Mon Mothma speech, the Senate is just it's just there to talk to each other, and then Palpatine just does whatever he wants anyway. So like you were saying, Pete, like at this point in time, it's the Empire. You either agree with us or you're just gonna get killed or go to prison. It's really that way now. Like you start seeing like a point where they don't even need to hide anymore. It's like, all right, secret's out. We got a Death Star. Senate's not going to exist anymore. We're just going to start going out there guns blazing at this point.
Yep. That's for sure here. And let's go to like the Yavin 4 situation here with the rebels because we get a lot of them in terms of obviously Wilmon's there with Drina. Like he's very much on board the we have to help Luthen here. Luthen is persona non grata with these rebels, Nick, because like High Command, apart from Mon Mothma, is very pissed at Luthen because they sort of feel like he did not come along for the mission here. And like we see the point where like Draven's like benching Wilmon. They can like send Cassian and Melchi their quarters. Or Cage doesn't shut himself off when they first get back from the mission with Kleya. So like I did think like very interesting to see like especially we see like the whole High Command. We get Radis back from Rogue One. We get the other members of High Command from Rogue One, and they are not thrilled with the information that they're getting from Cassian about why he's disobeying orders.
No, and I can see why, because they all sacrificed so much to build what they built.
Yeah.
And yes, he might be right. And in this case, he is right. What he's saying is true. But like listening to every rumor like that could get them all killed,
Yes.
all of them. Or, or I was going to say, or they all just get disbanded or whatever, go to prison. But either way, like let's just say killed for sake of argument. Like they've sacrificed too much to be listening to these kind of things. It makes you wonder though, at what point are you going to start fighting? Because what's the point of all this if you're not going to do anything about it?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like they thought they had more time, and then the super weapon thing I think spooks them, Pete, to the point where like, oh wait, now we actually have to act because they have like a planet killing like star station.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really believe Cassian at that point. It was almost like the Council and Anakin. They won't trust you. We don't trust all these other people. It kind of gave those vibes. What I found interesting was like I don't know if Luthen's ever been wrong, right? Like we've seen him make mistakes in executions of things, right? But I don't know if his intel has ever been wrong, right? And like Cassian said, like without Luthen, none of this starts, none of this happens. And I think the fact that Mon is in Cassian's court allows Bail to understand the severity, and then Bail Organa comes to him and says, "Look, if we're gonna fight, if we're gonna do something, we got to kind of go out fighting instead of just sitting around doing nothing." And I think that's what starts it, right? There's so much hesitation from everyone, and then Bail, who I don't want to say is the leader, but Bail seems to be the one that's kind of leading the charge of everyone. And he comes up and says, "Okay, let's go try to follow this lead and try to do something about it now."
Yeah, I think if you look at it, Nick, I think in terms of like we talk about the beginning of the season, how Luthen sort of has this whole like sort of sell the Rebel Alliance, and we can look at it as okay, like he's got the Cassian group, he's got Mon, but like for all we know, like Bail was doing his own thing on Alderaan to resist. Like these other senators probably doing their own thing. Like they
I'm sure they were. I mean, that's kind of the point here.
not tied to Luthen. So like to them, they're like, this guy thinks he's too good to show up on Coruscant. Now he's giving us information that like for all we know, we saw how well the false flags worked on Gorman. This could be a lot to draw us out.
And they had every right to believe that because they're probably right. Like, think about what the rebellion's really called. It's called the Alliance to Restore the Republic. Alliance implies that there's multiple parties that come together in an agreement, meaning it's not just like, oh, Luthen built this. It's we see it in Rebels. You have all these different rebel cells. There's tons of them. I don't know how many. Tons of them that just come together and then say, all right, we're going to put all our differences aside. May have different ways we want to go about this, but we're going to do it all together. And I guess the only guy who doesn't really join seems to be Saw,
I,
because
I
I
want to
mean,
get to that scene as well because that
Saw is out of his damn mind.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a bunch of different rebel cells coming together to form the alliance. So they have every right to believe that. It's you think you did all this, and you did. Don't get me wrong, Luthen was incredibly important to the rebellion, but so are the people they don't show you. So is the random guy in the X-Wing. However he got recruited to the rebellion, that guy did, I don't want to say just as much, but that guy did a lot too.
Yeah. So the other two senators, they've probably been doing their own things on off the books for years.
Right, there's like three of those people that were in Rogue One that were at that table. I don't know their names. I'm sure you have the names from
Yeah, we'll get
for the
we'll
trackers later on.
yeah, we'll
But all three of them, they did something, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Pete, I did love that's the Saw Gerrera scene as well because like it's so funny because after years of Luthen being the Saw Whisperer, Mon Mothma has to try and do it, and like Saw has lost his damn mind at this point because he's inhaling all the Rhydonium over the years, and like he's just like literally screaming nonsense at the monitor when they're trying to bring him in. He's like, there's Imperial Star Destroyer out there. He's like, you don't know where I am. They're like, we know you're on Jedha. He's like, no, I'm not. Like it just shows you how far like paranoid delusion gone he is. That like
Oh yeah, yeah, he's far gone,
yeah.
far, far, far gone. And I mean, I think Saw Gerrera's character is awesome. It sets it up nicely for Rogue One too, and like Mon trying to reason with Saw was probably one of the not funniest thing, but it's like Mon, you have much to learn. You're not reasoning with this man at all.
Because he's like the kid, because like Nick, he's like the kid playing hide and seek, and he's like hiding under a cover in the corner of the room, and she's like, like I could see you. And he's like, no, you can't. You know where I am. Like I see you in the corner. Like that's not me. Like you're thinking somebody else. Like he's literally like he's so high in the Rhydonium right now. He's just lost his damn mind. Good thing for Wilmot, he got away from Saw after the 1 year.
Yeah, so Saw's completely crazy. We knew that in Rogue One, and now I guess we know why he's so out of his damn mind.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, their values are all, and not their values, their main goal is all the same. And He does say that at the end of Rogue One, not the end of Rogue One, but his end in Rogue One. He says, "Save the rebellion, save the dream," and notice how he says, "Save the rebellion." And if you actually watch with subtitles, like I do, rebellion's not capitalized, meaning he just means the rebellion against the Empire, not your rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty interesting.
yeah, and that's an interesting point here. And one thing I want to touch on before we go to the montage is like when like Mon sends Vel to go like determine if like she should listen to Cassian's intel here. I did like the toast they had to like all of the rebels they knew and friends that knew they lost along the way. So it was like a nice little like moment for us as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, like all these characters who gave so much to the rebellion like are now gone.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, we lost a lot of people along the way.
For sure.
Anything else you guys want to get to before we kind of go through that montage to end the series?
Let's do the montage.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. Like we see that like we get like the life scenes on Yavin. We see Mon Mothma having like breakfast with Vel. We see like Cassian like saying what's up to the Force Sealer, like where he basically ignored her before. We see Kleya sort of embracing her scene here. Dedra in the Marquina prison. The shot of Saw and Jedha was exactly like the Rogue One shot. Was a lot of fun to see that one here. Cassian getting on his ship, Crank observing the Death Star, Perrin on Coruscant with Skulldun's wife, like that, right, getting drunk in a cab. That's another fun stuff. But like the last shot there, back on Mina Rao with B2 Emo running around and Bix like there with Cassian's child with her. So, any big takeaways from that montage?
Oh, I was happy to know that I know he was kind of an asshole, but I'm happy to know that Perrin's okay
Like,
and like
not,
not dead.
it's not in a prison somewhere.
Yeah, I was happy to know that. Obviously we're going to talk about the child, but I was happy to know that B2 Emo was okay as well.
Yeah,
I was worried that he was going to be all emo, all depressed.
he made a new friend.
So yeah, happy about that. Um, and the kid, I think that's such a Star Wars thing to do in a good way. I was very happy they did that. That just shows that even though he's gone, a piece of him is still around.
Yeah, that was a very fascinating thing, Pete. That scene with we found out that Bix is there and she has her child, which she had with Cassie, and recontextualized her leaving last week because she didn't want to have like her child coming up in the rebellion. That would give Cassie even more reason to leave. And like it's a very like fitting symbol of like this is what Cassie is giving up when he ends up dying in Rogue One, where he's not gonna have his chance to have this life with Bix and their child.
Yeah, and there was a foreshadowing there by Vel
Yeah.
where he's like, don't wait too long to reconnect with Bix. And he never reconnects with Bix. I don't think he ever knows that he has a son. Um, so or child. I don't know if it's confirmed son or daughter. I don't think I really saw it's a baby, so you can't tell.
I
But
don't think it's confirmed, but I'm like 99% sure it was the son for some reason.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, look, I think the foreshadowing of like make sure you reconnect soon doesn't happen, right? He dies from the Death Star with Jin on the planet. I'm terrible with names, so I'm sorry. And yeah, and yeah, it's powerful. And like you said, it legitimizes her leaving. She knows that if she tells Cassian I'm pregnant, he's gonna leave the rebellion and he doesn't do the stuff that needs to get done to get this emotion. So yeah, it's powerful. It's a powerful scene, even though it's 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to end the show. I know Tony Gilroy did an interview about this scene, and so did Adriana Arjona. They both talked about this, and Tony Gilroy said, and this is a very dark show. We see a lot of dark things here. Like he wanted to end on a symbol of hope, and like seeing that, like even like no, like we'll probably never see this character again. Like that, like this is like a sign of hope, and like this is the sunshine that Luthen said he's never going to see that is coming out.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We're not seeing this character again. Or I hope not, but
I prefer not to.
um yeah, no, same, but like the point was what you just said. It was to give like a glimmer of hope.
Yeah. Yeah, this, and I did think like the shot of her and the baby looking at the sun, like the sunrise, eerie parallel to the shot we see at the end of Rogue One when Cassian and Jin are like staring at the blinding laser of the Death Star coming to like engulf them.
Yeah, it really was a fantastic ending. And I mean, I know you guys said you didn't because you probably didn't have time, which required a lot of time, but did it not get you in the mood to want to watch Rogue One?
It did, and we'll definitely be doing that soon.
And the same, I mean, the same with Rogue One, man. When Rogue One came out, all I wanted to do was watch A New Hope.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
it rolls
you
right.
watch this final arc, then Rogue One, then A New Hope in one sitting. I mean, it's a long sitting, but they go so well together. They really do.
Yeah, it does go very well together. Anything else you guys want to say on these episodes before we get to all our trackers and whatnot?
No.
All right, so first up here, things to keep track of every week here. The character draft has been resolved, and for the first time ever, Nick has not won a show. Like I have won, I got 7 points. I got four Krennics and three Bales. Nick was in second with four times for Draven, and Pete was off the board, though we did get a lot of Galen Urso mentions in the last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens.
Yeah,
Congrats, Mike.
yeah. First time Nick did not win.
Yeah, if we kept it like I said, we should have got rid of the season one characters. It would have been a tie ball game again.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, we made a decision, and you guys opted into that. So next up here, the death draft. So this is what we got going on here in the death draft. Nick got on the board finally with Luthen dying in episode 10. So we had five of the six characters die that we picked. Only Bix made it out of the show alive.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If I had switched picks for Lonnie, it would have been good.
Yeah, and Lonnie should have been top of mind after we watched One Way Out.
Yeah.
All right, so now we'll go to the trackers that we keep track of every week. So a couple of totals to update here in terms of the live action cameos here. We ended up with 37 total for the show. The new ones this week, we got a couple of Melshi appearances. We got Krennic a couple times. We got Bail Organa again. We got General Draven twice. K2SO a couple times. Admiral Radis, and then our three Rogue One characters here. Like Tinra Palmo, the senator, Noah Jabel, the other senator, and the little alien pilot dude, Pal, who's training with Melshi. So 37 live action cameos
37 unique characters or total?
total.
Do you have the unique character number anywhere or no?
I figured it out real quick. So one, two,
I'm
three,
interested in that
four,
if you have it.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 unique characters.
That's
Not
cool.
bad.
And a couple, about like a third of them were Saw Gerrera's partisans.
Fair.
Speaking of Saw Gerrera, he ticked off the animated tracker one more time. So 12 animated cameos over the course of the show, all from Saw and Erskine Samaj. Uh,
We don't count Mon in that?
well, we established prior to the show like Mon and Cassie weren't going to count. They were considered main characters. We started the exercise.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. True.
All right. Next up here, Nick, planets. We added two more this week. We added that planet where Luthen rescues Kleya from in the flashback and Naboo. So 19 total planets over the course of Andor.
19 planets in Andor in 24 episodes.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. I say this a lot, and no one really understands what I'm saying when I say this, but I say this a lot as in Andor reminds me of like the beginning of a video game. Not the end of the video game, the beginning of the video game. The beginning of the video game, let's just like it's a mafia game, and you run into one of the dons of like the other gang. You're so intimidated, and you would never dare to like even like point your gun at him. But at
Yep.
the end of the game, you have no problem shooting everybody in the face.
Yep.
And like this show reminds me in the beginning of the game. It's like it's everything is it's like because in the beginning of the game is realistic. And then as you go on to the game, you become some super powered guy who can shoot everyone and get away from everyone because you have all these abilities and cool gadgets and whatnot. But this show just stays at the beginning. It stays grounded the entire time.
Yeah, that's for sure here. And also, Nick, in terms of the also in terms of classic lines, they had two more to the board here. So obviously, Bale says, "May the Force be with you" to Cassie at the end of episode 12, and Luthen gives the classic Palpatine "Do it" to Kleya when they're about to blow up the bridge on Naboo. So five classic lines over 24 episodes, which is very good restraint out of the writing crew here.
One classic line that I didn't love, Pete, we talked about it last week. I felt that the bellhop at the hotel saying rebellions were built on hope was very forced. It kind of just came out as like, "Ooh, that's the guy who said it first." That seems weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually did an interview about that, Nick. Did you see that?
No,
Because apparently this came from Gilroy's son, who asked, was watching the movie, and they're right there, he's breaking his arc and said, "Who's gonna tell Cassie rebellions are built on hope?" He's like, "Huh?"
I agree. Someone should have said it. I just feel like it seemed like it came out of nowhere, being on him, and when it came.
Yeah, he said it like it's not something Cassie would call him on his own. So he needs somebody to say it to him. So like it makes sense
Being
why they
honest
did
with
it.
you,
What?
if I'm being honest with you, there's a reason that it sounds weird. Now I know Gilroy was heavily involved in Rogue One, so I can't say that the writing in Rogue One sucked and the writing in Andor was amazing. But the writing in the show is so unbelievably good that a little cheesy line like that, like rebellions were built on hope, because it was even kind of cheesy in the movie. We were watching the movie Rogue One for the first time 10 years ago, 9 years ago. It was even kind of cheesy then, but like the cheesy line sticks out even more because you're watching a show where there are no cheesy lines. Nothing's cheesy. The show is like it's brilliant,
Yeah.
so it sticks out even more.
Yeah, I would agree with that here. And I do think though, like I'm just glad they got the "May the Force be with you" line in there. I thought that was it would have been weird. Like, I know they say in the movie, when weird they not didn't do it in the show.
It's like the first mention of the Force.
No, we had the
One of
Force Stealer a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, the Force healer, but like they went out of their way to not call her the Force healer at some points.
Yeah, I mean, like I think they said it, Pete, if I remember correctly, about the Force Healer that she
They
said.
did, but they also at another time called her something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So two more trackers here. Named deaths. We added four more to the board, Pete. We got obviously Luthen in here, Wani dead via Luthen, Partagrass killing himself, and Hurt getting murdered by Cassie and by a K2SO. So four more named deaths, 14 total in season two.
Wait, how many more?
At four in this arc, 14 total for season two, named character death.
Oh, 14 total. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's a lot of, a lot of people that you got to tie up loose ends, right? And this is usually what happens when you have something that comes after the show. So, makes sense.
Yeah. And I did not think we are gonna be doing this tracker this much, but we do have to add to the meme tracker again, Nick, because after last week, this Mon Mothma reacting to Cassian shooting Clores became a meme. So two memes out of this show.
Yeah, that's a good line there. I mean, that's a good like still shot. Good for a meme.
Yeah, that thing blew up on the internet last week. Everybody was using this in some way or form. Just like Karn face down in the bed.
I'm very happy.
All right, so we got more memes out of this show. We got a skeleton crew, Pete.
I know. Who would have thought?
Oh, I have to mention I know this is not the time, but I have to mention that as you know, the Outlaws DLC was based around pirates.
Yeah.
There mentions the skeleton crew. They mention At-Atten and not the crew or anything, but they mention At-Atten, and you get some cosmetics called Skeleton Crew cosmetics for the game. Kind of cool.
So it's okay. So no Jod shout outs in there.
I mean, not yet. I've only played it for a very little bit, but maybe.
So if we do get it, I do think it would be cool if we get the Jod shout. You let us know if it happens.
I will let you know if it happens.
All right. So we'll go to the MVP LEP board now. These are the best and worst characters season two is rated by us. Pete, you were not here last week. You want to tell us who you gave your points to?
I don't remember. Who did I give my points to?
All right.
Can you remind me? I'm so like lost.
Yeah, because I believe you were a Cassian, Mon, and Bix MVP.
That sounds right.
I think your LPs, I think we're the Bale extraction team, the Gorman front, and Dedra.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I do I have to explain myself? I feel like those are
No,
pretty
no,
obvious.
no, that's pretty obvious. Like Nick and I kind
Yeah,
of reset
yeah,
the
yeah.
going into this.
It's been a week. I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah, so reset the board here. Cassie and Andor top of the board at +7, Bix +6. Our ties for two are Bureau Standard Supervisor Karn, Saw Gerrera, and the Empire. Dedra, Kleya, the Imperial Engineering Department. Thank you, Pete, and Mon Mothma at +1. Luthen is at 0. Our -1, Sam with two M's. The Dysfunctional Yavin 4 Rebels. Other Star Wars shows. Thank you, Nick. Perrin, Tay Kalma, Pluty. Our -2 is Wilmon. And -3, we all like hit Bale's extraction team last week. The Gorn Front's at -4. Lieutenant Kroll from the first arc is at -7. So, Pete, I'll give you first crack here. Who are the MVPs of the finale?
Oh boy. Um, I'm gonna give one for to Kleya for sure. I'm gonna give one to Krennic because I just think he was, even though he was in it for only one episode, it was just a really good representation of the Empire for sure. Well, he's in multiple episodes, I should say, but like the one scene with Dedra, I feel like was a really good representation of the Empire. And also their desperation too. And then the last one I would give it to is K2SO. He's just a badass.
Yeah. All right. Nick, who are you going with?
I'm going to give one to Kleya as well.
Okay.
I'm going to give K one as well. Oh, they're all K, but K2SO is what I meant.
Yep.
I'm also going to give one to Mon Mothma for standing up for Cassian, believing in him, believing in what he's saying. And when I saw the MVP board after episode
Six.
9, and Mon Mothma was so far down on that list. I know technically after 6, but like when we were discussing episode 9 is what I mean. It's something didn't sit right to me. Like when I think about Andor and I go back and think about the show, I'm going to think about Cassian. I'm going to think about Luthen. I'm going to think about Mon Mothma. And the fact that she was so low on that list to me is just like, no, she's a great character. She should be higher.
All right. So I'm in agreeing with you on Clay and K2SO. They both were locks here. I'm giving Cassian one more for the road because I think like great job on the extraction here and a very good job selling Vel on the importance of Luthen's intel. And this convinces Mon and Bale to go along with letting him go meet Tivik to get this information. All right.
Okay, I love it.
Last last LVPs, three each here. So Nick, you want to start?
Sure. It gotta be Dedra, right?
Yep.
It's gotta be Dedra. I gotta give it to. Do I give it to the ISB or do I give it to the guy? I don't know.
I'll give it to the
Up to
ISP as a
you.
whole. And the ISP as a whole, a horrible week.
Yeah, I'll give it to the ISB because it's hard to pick out which one of those individuals would be the one. So I guess
Horrible.
the ISB and Dedra I'm putting separate because she's one of the main characters.
That's right, made her own mistakes, separate from the ISPs
Right.
generally.
And then my last one, I, I understand why they're doing it, but for the sake of their being annoying, I'm going to give it to whatever they're called, like the Rebel Council, the whatever they're called.
Rebel High Command.
Okay, the Rebel High Command, just for the sake of them being annoying. I do completely understand where they're coming from, though, to be fair.
Yeah. So we're in agreement here on the first two. I Dedra the ISB down here. I was struggling for a third one. Then the montage came. Then I had to say, okay, I can give Perrin one more point for the road for being dumb enough to cheat on his wife with a mobster's wife. That's a very
Well,
stupid move by Perrin.
his wife is gone.
Even so, like you could have any woman in the galaxy. You choose to sleep with the mobster's wife, who is also like your daughter's mother-in-law. Not a great look for
Yeah,
them.
I guess.
Pretty bad.
Good luck.
All right, Pete, your LVPs.
Same as Nick for sure. Just yeah. I don't know what else to say about it.
So you're going Dedra, ISB, Rebel High Command.
100%.
All right, so now we're going here to grades. So we're gonna do each episode here. First up, Make It Stop. I'm giving this one a 9.5. I really thought I maybe controversial. This is the best of the three episodes that we got in the finale. So 9.5 for me. Nick, I mean Pete. Sorry.
9. Oh, sorry. Oh, you know mine.
Yep. Pete.
Yeah, I'm at a 9.5 as well. I enjoyed it.
All right. Who else knows? Episode 11. Pete.
10. Loved it. It was
Nick.
awesome.
10.
I gave it a 9. And last but not least, the last episode, Jedha, Kyber, Erso. Nick,
10.
eat. Oh, I'm gonna give it a nine. I'm giving it a nine also. I stand by. I think the 10 was the best of the bunch. Pete.
Yeah, I'm at 10.
All right. So high marks here for the landing here. We'll be back next week for our season and slash series review podcast. So we're going to look back at the entirety of Andor. And I think interesting discussion points here in terms of, I think obviously a lot of like where these characters land here. I also think, Pete, interesting to sort of think about like how this would have played out if it was not 3 episodes at a time and getting one in a week, if that would have impacted how we viewed this, or if we got full season out of the arcs we got. I think those are interesting things to think about for next week.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's gonna really fire up some great conversation.
Yep. Like as now we're trying to get a guest for next week. We will let you know if we are successful with that. We'll see how that goes here. But thank you guys once again for coming on here. Pete, people want to follow you on social media. How can I do that?
At Consi29 on Twitter, CONSY29 on Twitter, AP Tower 308 posted this background on Reddit. Make sure you check them out.
Nick, one more time. People want to follow us on social media. How can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast is our at, and you want to email us, it's at Sky Guys Pod.
You can also follow me on social media at mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This is go over the Just on the Suffering podcast. It was the 500th episode of the Just on the Suffering podcast. So we brought some classic interviews out of the archive. So you want to check out some of those interviews, including one from us. Go ahead and check out that podcast, Sky Just on the Suffering podcast. Same platforms that we mentioned at the top of the show for us.
Congratulations, Mike. 500.
Yeah,
That's
that's
quite a
crazy.
feat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, that podcast is 7 years old.
I
Keep
gotta
on
look.
rocking,
We're
man.
we're pretty good as well. I gotta look and see where we are with
Yeah.
the number, but
We're getting, I think we're in at least the high ones.
Mike, we were in the twos in like December.
So probably like in like the 220s now.
But if you remember, we had a lot of episodes removed.
I didn't really see the removals. So
So yeah, I can find out the number.
we could check it next week.
Yeah, how about this? You give me 20 seconds. If I find it, I'll mention it. If I don't find it, we'll just say I'll find it later.
Yeah, I'll also go ahead, PL. We'll let Marlon the audience here. Like this is not the end of the Andor card. We got two more Andor civic episodes that we're still doing here. If you want to ride the Andor train a little longer, we're not ready to get off.
Yeah, it was quick. It's a month, right? So we got through that show super quick. We want to talk about it a little bit more. So you got a couple more weeks. Make sure you're sticking with us.
Yeah, we gotta take
No, I can't find it.
foot off the gas a little bit. So we'll do that. We'll be back next week. Look at the series as a whole. I'm fascinated to look at that overall MVP board, see how that aged. Until then, may the force be with you.